All right, let's do some skills practice with per capita. So in this one we have prison population and the national population for different countries. And we want to find the prison population per capita. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the number in prison and divide it by the total population. Now, one thing to recall is the population is in millions. So that means you either need to use times 10 to the 6th or to put it in standard form, go 6 places. So let's do the U.S. together. So with the U.S., I've got a prison population of 2,292,133, and I'm going to divide that by 308, and then I'm going to add 6 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, when I divide this, and your calculator may spit at you scientific notation or standard form. So you can see, right, we have standard form here, we have scientific notation here. So no matter what your calculator spits at you, you're going to have to change to the other one. So I got a decimal answer of 0.0074 when I divided those, which translates to be 7.4 times 10 to the negative third. It's negative exponent because my number is less than 0. Okay, so I want you to go through that process, right? Here, let's do Mexico together again, and then I'll have you guys try the rest. So for Mexico, we take 222,330, and we divide by 110. Now I need 6 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I divide those numbers, I get 0.0020, which becomes 2.0 times 10 to the negative third. All right, so using that process, prison population divided by the national population, scientific notation, and decimal. Hit pause, try to go through them, and then come back and check your answers, see if yours match mine. Okay, most of these I only took out 2 decimal places, but a few I took out more because I wanted there to be a difference between them. At first, Ireland and Iraq had the same 1.0, so I took Iraq out to another spot, and also Mexico and New Zealand were pretty close, so I made New Zealand 1.99 just so we had a difference between them. Okay, let's go ahead and answer some questions based off this table. So, number 2, write a meaningful sentence using the prison population per capita for Mexico. Well, for Mexico, we had a per capita of 0.0020. So what does that mean? There are 0.002 people in prison. Whoops, spelled prison wrong. In prison for each person in Mexico. And you might say, that doesn't make any dang sense. And you're right, it kind of doesn't, right? So for every one person, 0.002 people are in prison. You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. If we did that, kind of like think about 3 places, there would be 2 people out of 1,000, to put it in like real people numbers. So out of 1,000 people in Mexico, 2 of them would be in prison. That's what that means. What about the prison population per capita for Ireland? Well, Ireland is 0.001. So similar statement to that of Mexico. There are 0.001 prisoners per person in Ireland. I probably should have said, oh, I did say in Mexico. Okay, in Ireland. You always want to give your location of where you are. Number 4, which country has the highest prison population per capita? Well, if we look back at our table, we're looking at biggest number. Well, if we go look at the third number past, the biggest one is a 7, and that is the U.S. Does the U.S. also have the most people in prison? Yep. So for this one, highest prison is the U.S. Do they have the highest prison population? Yes. So for this case, it does come out that the highest rate is also the highest prison. That doesn't always happen, right? Because sometimes you got to take into account how many people you're dealing with. But for this case, it does work out like that. Number 5, which country has the lowest prison population rate? And do they have the lowest prison population? Well, let me give you whiplash and go back. Now, Haiti is the only one that's times 10 to the negative 4th. It's the smallest number. Haiti has the smallest rate, but if you look, Ireland has the smallest number. So, smallest rate, Haiti. Smallest prison population, Ireland. Ireland has fewer people in prison, but they have a smaller population, which means they have a higher rate with all of that. Okay. All right. Lower population. Okay. So number 6, which two countries have the most similar prison populations per capita rates? Well, when I did this, I thought that Ireland and Iraq seemed to be the closest because Ireland has 0.100 in terms of percent, because this says as a percentage, and Iraq has 0.101%. So we are talking about 1/1000th of a percent, which is super, super tiny. Right? Because as a percent, I mean, you're already small. 0.1% is already small, and now we're talking about 1/1000th of a percent. So those rates are very, very, very similar. Okay, let's just do some other per capita problems here. 7, 8, and 9. 345 people rode the train into the city this morning. If this train consisted of 8 cars, each of the 8 cars has 118 seats. How many seats per capita? So we want to find seats per person. Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out how many seats do we have. Well, we've got 8 cars, each had 118 seats. So 8 times 118 gives me a total of 944 seats, right? There's the total. So that's the total number of seats. How many people do we have? Well, they said 345 rode this train. So when I divide those two numbers, I get 2.74. That means there were 2.74 seats per person. Is this a busy train? I'm going to say no. Because if I have 2.7, that's almost 3 seats a person. So you can, sit down in 3 seats. If you have 3 seats to yourself or 2 seats to yourself, that is not a busy train. All right, number 8. Indiana's population was 6,080,485 in 2000, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Given the total amount spent on personal health care in Indiana was $4,202 million that same year, find the amount spent on health care per capita. So the amount spent, money per person. Okay, how much money was spent? 4,202 million. Million means 6. Divided by how many people are there. Okay, when I divide those two, assuming I divided correctly, which is always, crapshoot, I'm rounding to the nearest penny. This means Indiana spent $691.06 per person on health care in 2000. I have the year, I have the place, I have how much and per whom, right, per person in this case, and what they spend it on. So you want to make sure when you're writing these meaningful sentences that you have all of those who, what, when, where, how, answering as many of those questions as you possibly can from the data in your problem. Number 9, last one. According to the Humane Society, there were roughly 77.8 million pet dogs in the U.S. in 2015. U.S. population of approximately 320 million, find the number of pet dogs per capita. So we are finding dogs per person. Well, we know there were 77.8 million dogs, and there were 320 million people. Now you'll notice these are both millions, so they cancel out. So I'm really just dealing with 77.8 divided by 320. When I divide those numbers, I get an answer of 0.24 dogs per person. So basically 1 out of every 4 people has a dog. That's kind of what that comes out, because 0.24 is close to 0.25. 0.25 is 1/4 as a fraction, so 1 out of 4 people is how I got that. Oh, sorry. Second part of this says let's talk about cats. What about cats per capita if there are 85.8 million pet cats? So now we're talking about cats per person. All right, so they said there are 85.8 million cats. It's a lot of cats. And we're going to divide that by the 320 million people. Again, that's a lot of cats. If we take out those millions, we're really dealing with 85.5 divided by 320, and I get 0.27 cats per person. So slightly higher than the number of dogs per person. And that is your per capita skills practice.